Book 11, Arnive. Reading theme, Courage. Great weariness shuttered Gawain's eyes. He slept thus till he awoke early next morning to the sound of birdsong. Rising, he went to the windows, from which he once again saw the great fortress and the many ladies there moving about inside. He was surprised to see them awake so early. Gawain slept again, and when next he awoke, Bene had returned to wait on him. "Have you been here long?" he asked. "I should like to ask you some questions. Yesterday and this morning I saw many ladies high above me. Please tell me who they are." The young lady was startled. "Do not ask that, sir," she said. "I shall never tell you. I cannot tell you anything about them, though I know I am bound to silence. Do not be offended with me. Ask me about something else." Gawain asked her again and pressed his question, but the loyal girl wept bitterly. Soon her father joined them, and Gawain addressed the question to him instead. "In God's name, do not ask," cried his host, wringing his hands. "My lord, there is anguish surpassing all other there." "Tell me why my question displeases you, host," said Gawain. The ferryman explained that should he answer Gawain's question, Gawain was certain to go to the castle, and from thence no warrior ever returned. "Yesterday," the ferryman continued, "my ship ferried over the man who slew Ither. His shield bears the scars of many jousts. He was riding here in quest of the Grail." "Which way did he go?" asked Gawain, recognizing that again he was close to Parzival. "Tell me, host, being so near, did he learn the nature of the castle yonder?" "He did not learn it, sir. I took good care not to mention it to him. If it had not occurred to you to ask of your own accord, you would never have learned what is here, mighty sorcery fraught with terror." Gawain pressed him on. "I should be very sorry if I were to ride away from these ladies without exerting myself. Kundry la Sorcière told of these ladies at Arthur's court, and now that I have come so near for their sakes, I shall not shirk the challenge." The ferryman relented. "If God makes it manifest that you are not to die, you will be lord of this land. If you have the strength to release all the ladies captive, and numerous men-at-arms, and noble knights too, you will be accorded such renown as no knight ever won, and God himself will have honoured you well." "Bring me my equipment," said Gawain. Bene armoured him, and his host brought him a shield. "You must carry my shield," said his host, "which is neither hacked nor pierced, for I never fight. Do not let it go while you are in Castelmarve. When you arrive at the castle, sir, you will find a merchant, a huckster. Buy something of his wares, and he will take charge of your horse. Inside the castle you will find the wonder bed. Lie upon it, and do not let go. But just as you are thinking that your great trial is over, it will take on the colour of serious fighting." Gawain mounted his horse and bid his host and Bene farewell. Arriving before the gate, Gawain found the huckster. He had a bountiful treasure of wares, but would not sell anything to Gawain. Instead, he told Gawain that he would take care of his horse, and that if Gawain did not die in the castle, all the huckster's goods would be his. At this, Gawain dismounted and walked into the fortress. Within the walls there was a wide meadow which he crossed. Many towers loomed above the battlements, and the whole roof resembled peacock's feathers. Inside, the palace was embellished and adorned. Below Gawain's feet the ground was smooth and clear, made from precious jewels. It was so glassy that Gawain could hardly find purchase for his feet. In the middle of the room stood the wonder bed. Below each post the wheel was of ruby. Gawain approached it, but with each step the bed moved away from him. "How shall I get at you?" he wondered. "Are you set on dodging away from me? I shall teach you if I can pounce on top of you." At that moment the bed stood still in front of him. He took a flying jump and landed plumb in the middle. At once the bed went crashing from side to side at high speed. Although he was abed, Gawain had to stay awake. He was so overwhelmed by the clamour that he pulled his shield up over him. He lay still and left his fate in the hands of him who has power to help. After some time, the crashing and blaring ceased, and the bed came to a halt in the very centre of the room. At this, 500 slingshots, whose aim was upon the bed, let loose their stones, and they rained down on Gawain. But the shield was so tough that he felt their impact little. And now 500 crossbows let loose their arrows. Gawain guarded himself from most, and they stuck firm in the shield, but some entered his body. He was all cut and bruised through his chainmail. Gawain was now hoping that his troubles were over, but he still had to win fame by fighting. For at that instant a door opened opposite him, through which came a brawny man, horrible to see, all clad in fish-skin. In his hand he held a club. "You need have no fear of me," shouted the angry man. "All the same, I shall see to it that something happens to you from which you will lose your life. That you are still alive is due only to the power of the devil, but even if he has saved you here, nothing can prevent your dying. This I shall bring back home to you as soon as I have left." And the rustic went back through the door. Gawain cut the shafts of the arrows from his shield. He then heard a roar as though 20 drums were being beaten. He turned, and through the door leapt a mighty lion, tall as a horse. This huge and mighty lion had been made terrible by hunger. He pounced angrily at the man and snatched at his shield. His paw went clean through it, and Gawain prevented it from tearing his shield away by hewing off its leg at a stroke. The beast's blood gushed out so copiously, spreading this way and that Gawain could not take a firm stance. Time and time again the lion bared his fangs and pounced at the man, but Gawain wounded it gravely. It sprang at him again, and Gawain drove his sword to the hilt into the lion's breast, at which the beast's rage abated. It stumbled and fell down dead. Now Gawain's head was in such a whirl, and his wounds were beginning to bleed so copiously that his gallant strength forsook him, and he fell down in a swoon. Unknown to him, from high above he was being watched by a maiden. Seeing the beast and the knight both lying in the blood, she believed Gawain to be dead. She ran to the oldest of the 4 queens living there, Queen Arnive, and delivered the news. Arnive went to the scene to look with all her ladies. Unlacing his helmet, they ascertained whether he was dead or not by holding up the sable fur of his coat to his mouth to see if it stirred in response to his breathing. Breathing was detected there, and they gave Gawain water and carried him to a fine bed. Gawain was roused. "I am sorry you had to find me lying in this ill-bred fashion," he said. "You lay and are lying as one who has covered himself with glory," they declared. "Victory is yours today." The ladies unarmed him, and Arnive placed a herb in his mouth which caused him to sleep. She wiped the gore from his wounds and made the bruises disappear by a combination of skill and potent salves. When she judged it right to do so, she removed the herb from his mouth, and he woke again. Thereupon he was brought food and drink, whilst all the ladies stood around. He asked them to sit, but those noble ladies of high degree adhered to their standards of conduct. They served him with right good will, and sweetly begged him to let them stand till he had supped, with none of them sitting. When he was done, Gawain laid himself down to sleep.